I remember distinctly playing through and quickly finishing Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, and thinking to myself, this very well might be the greatest 2D platformer ever created. We are now 10 years since the release of this game, and that belief really hasn't been moved. It's a little unfortunate when you think about the fact that side-scrollers, the genre that birthed the modern game industry, arguably our first blockbuster genre, is typically treated as a second or even third-rate citizen today. We pretty much never get to see what a fully funded, studio-backed, veteran-produced AAA platformer could look like. And make no mistake, this is not quite on the production level of a AAA title, but it's likely as close as we're ever gonna get in this day and age. Brought to life by one of the industry's most trusted development studios, Tropical Freeze feels like a game that got to spend the exact right amount of time in the oven. With the excellent foundation of Donkey Kong Country Returns, Tropical Freeze perfects the balance between a precise and graceful control experience, while having that control experience with a 400-pound gorilla who feels exactly as heavy as he ought to. DKC has always had an element of speed to it, in spite of its weight. And these levels perfectly complement that desire to roll into a jump that lands on an enemy that allows you to carry your momentum to clear a massive gap, then use your buddy of choice to safely land on the ground below you. The fluidity of this game is seldom matched. Those levels are really where you see the production value come to life. Simple platforming level concepts are transformed into full-on theme park attractions with the way levels are contextualized in the foreground and the background. What was a level about moving platforms is now about a savanna where everything dances to the music. Bouncy and icy terrain levels are now contextualized as a factory where jelly is frozen. A high-stakes avalanche is turned into a work of art through the ultimate cheap shot of these games, making it a silhouette level. It's not just that each level is unique, each section of each level is unique, as is each phase of the boss fights in this game, which frankly are way more challenging and grand than a 2D platformer has any right to be. Even with that fine-tuning, the game gives the player the option to craft their own experience in the form of items, or more critically, which partner you choose. My favorite has always been Cranky because he lets you keep your forward momentum the easiest. Diddy is an outstanding choice to make the game a touch more easy to control for players who might not be ready for the game's higher than average difficulty. And Dixie continues to be the Kong you choose if you just want to crack the game wide open. I'm really rushing to get all the compliments out on time, but I promise this is the last one, and it's also the one that might be the most well documented. Tropical Freeze brought back David Wise, the main composer from the first two Donkey Kong Country games, and the results were exactly what we were hoping for. That is to say, expectations were exceeded on every front with music that is sometimes rhythmic and catchy, but also sometimes extremely ambient and tranquil, such that it's hard to believe you enjoy listening to it as much as you do. The Donkey Kong Country series is in a really unique position for platformers. You can't just meet expectations in the series. It's just about the only ongoing 2D side-scroller where it seems reasonable to expect excellence. I want this series to continue, but I am terrified for any development team that takes that task on. From where I'm standing, the thought of a platformer that could be even better than this frankly feels like a fantasy.